Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to talk to you guys today about some bad police training tactics, okay? In police circles, okay, they have this concept of what they call no hesitation training, okay? And what that means is that when you are perceived to be under threat, you don't hesitate to shoot, you just shoot, okay? And to me that pretty much sounds a lot like shoot first, ask questions later, okay? Now this, I don't believe that this is something that's like actively drilled, okay? I think this is more something that's more of a a culture thing that they kind of throw around. That's kind of becoming more or less ingrained into their way of thinking. But I've first of all, I'm a range safety officer, so as a range safety officer, I've over the last 15 or so years, I've had the benefit of going around to different ranges and seeing how a lot of different people train. A lot of times I'm able to kind of work my way. As a supervisor, I'm able to kind of work my way in and overhear things. So there's two major flaws that I have found in police training. The first one is basically finger on the trigger as they're either drawing the gun or or as they're presenting. So the deal is that when you draw the gun, fingers off the trigger, you come out, you extend. Finger does not go on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Now, even if you're in a really tight situation, like let's say you're going around a corner where you're not going to go to full extension, finger's going to come out. You're going to come here. Basically, finger's still not on the trigger until the moment that you need to shoot. Okay. So that's something that I believe is not reinforced in police training. Now, in a lot of cities, in particular, police training really doesn't consist of anything more than going to the shooting range twice a year and maybe shooting a box of ammo. Okay, a lot of times I don't even think they shoot a full box of ammo. They'll shoot like half a box of ammo. But that varies from department to department. So they get their initial training, when they're going through their academy, and there's basically there is some gun training, but it is fairly limited. Okay, and it kind of makes sense to the extent that police officers actually spend very little time actually shooting guns. When they're on the job, okay, they spend more time, writing tickets, recording information, so they spend a lot more time doing other things other than actually shooting at people, which is, I guess, a good thing, okay? So because the actual shooting aspect of police work is so tiny, so minuscule, in reality it's a rarity, okay? It rarely, when you factor in that we have close to 400 million people in this country. There's really very few. There's very few gun deaths overall. There's very few, police shootings overall. Okay, but when it does happen, it really makes the news, and it is an absolute tragedy. What I find is that civilian training tends to be at a much higher standard. Okay, because I've been training civilians for over 15 years. And we reinforce things like fingers off the trigger until you come out and you're ready to shoot. We absolutely reinforce that. In the courses that I teach, I do what we call identity training, where basically I'll have them start off facing away from the target. I'll have them basically turn, identify, then draw and shoot. Okay, and then do a scan and assess. All right, so I'll do that one more time so you guys can see it. So in this drill, basically what we do is we, have them absolutely like opposite direction. I don't have them start off here. Or I may start them off here, but eventually I'll move them to, to a full 180 degrees, because from here you can kind of see out of the corner of the eye. What I really want to reinforce is full head look, take in that information through your eyes into your brain, and decide if you need to shoot. And if you decide that you need to shoot, then you. Okay? All right. So I think that this is an exercise that's lacking. They in police training they don't emphasize finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. In reality they don't even emphasize muzzle discipline. Okay. I've seen many cases of muzzle pointing in directions that they should not be pointing in, and the fact that the gun's not loaded, doesn't have a magazine, it's locked open, none of that is excusable. Okay, until the gun is apart, right, in two pieces, it's still a gun. Okay, when the gun is apart, then it's no longer a gun. Then it's just gun parts. Okay, so you can look down the barrel. You can, but as long as it's together as a functional gun, it doesn't matter if it's not loaded. You always follow muzzle discipline. You always follow finger discipline. Fingers off the trigger until the minute you're about to shoot. Now that said, I mean, if you need to, like if you have a Glock or something and you need to decock it, yeah, point in a safe direction, pull the trigger. But that's something that you're doing intentionally, okay? So I mean, there are exceptions. Don't take this, to an extreme sense. But those two things alone are things that I have repeatedly seen in error. Okay, now what I think happens very often is that, if the police officers finds themselves in a situation where they feel threatened, and they draw their gun, but not necessarily with the intention of shooting, with the intention of saying, stop, don't move. But the problem is, because the finger's already on the trigger, when they say stop, don't move, bang, before they even finish the sentence, they have a muscle twitch, and they fire the gun, okay? And now, I mean, what are they going to say? They're not going to say, shit, I made a mistake, I had my finger on the trigger when I shouldn't have, because they don't even realize it, okay? Because that's not what they're thinking of. They're not thinking of where's my finger. That's something that just needs to be reinforced through training. When we train, we practice to draw finger off the trigger. Okay, we do this thousands of times so that we don't have to think about not putting that finger on the trigger. Okay, so that when you have to do it under stress, you do it automatically that way. If you're not drilling it that way, under stress, the first thing you're going to do is put your finger on the trigger before you even get your sights on target. Okay, so that's the first error that I have found in police training. Muzzle discipline, finger discipline. Okay, which really comes into play when they're just trying to basically just present the gun and say freeze, don't move, boom. Right, they already shot somebody because the finger was on the trigger, even when they didn't want to. Okay, and the other thing is they don't identify. They don't reinforce the type of training where they identify the threat. And what I mean by identify is like really look at it, observe what's really going on. And they have a concept in police training called no hesitation training. Okay, what that means is that if you hesitate, you're dead. Okay, they have another phrase that they'll throw around in police circles. If you see the gun, meaning the bad guy's gun, if you see the gun, you're already dead. Okay, so now we have a situation where they're anticipating who might have a gun, and then basically acting upon that. Okay, so you have this combination of no hesitation training. If you see the gun, it's already too late. And another popular phrase that they'll have is the officer must go home. Okay, so again, now there's a situation where the officer must go home. Yeah, of course the officer must go home. Everybody has to go home, okay? What that's really doing is it's placing the life of the police officer above the life of everybody else who's not a police officer, okay? And granted, if that is a really bad guy who's about to shoot you, about to kill people, yeah, obviously that might be somebody that deserves to get shot. But when you put all these things together, okay, and then put on top of that the officer must go home, okay, so now you have a situation where the police officer's life is more important. He has to go home. Now you have innocent people getting shot who aren't even armed, okay, who are not presenting a threat, who are sitting on their couch eating ice cream. And that's kind of the reason why we're having this discussion today. There was a recent case, a female police officer, it doesn't matter if she was female, a police officer entered an apartment that she thought was hers, but it wasn't hers. It was actually her neighbor's, her next door neighbor, and I can understand that a lot of apartments look the same. She made what I think is an honest mistake. She entered her neighbor's apartment. She found somebody on what she thought was her couch, okay, eating ice cream, okay. So basically, immediately draws the gun and shoots, okay. Now, I truly believe that she did not intend to shoot, but rather she had her finger on the trigger as she drew, and then she unintentionally squeezed the trigger. I believe that she had a muscle spasm. So I do believe that that was most likely an unintentional squeeze. So again, now we have this combination of three things. We have bad finger discipline, right? Fingers on the trigger, before you decide you want to shoot. We have the no hesitation training, where basically you're going to immediately act before you even know what's going on. So again, it's shoot first, ask questions later. Okay, so you have no hesitation training, or no hesitation mindset. It's really more of a mindset than training, because like I said, I don't think they actually drill shooting without looking. Basically, I don't think they drilled that. I don't think it's that bad. But you have this no hesitation mindset, and then on top of that, you have the mindset of the officer must go home, which again, you sandwich all these three things together, where and basically you end up with a dead civilian, somebody being shot eating ice cream on his couch. Okay, so this is bad training. Okay, but, and all these police shootings that we've seen over the last 15, 20 years, or going back 50 years, I'm sure, I mean, it's just that they've gotten more attention over the last 10 or so years, but I'm sure they go back 100 years. The issue is bad training. Okay, again, just to rephrase it, bad finger discipline. Okay, finger on the trigger before they need to shoot. This concept of no hesitation training, that if you see the gun, you're already dead. Okay, so they want to basically anticipate who might have a gun, who might be shooting at them. Okay, you've got that, and then on top of that, you've got this mindset of the officer must go home, which kind of basically rings out the sound of the officer's life is more important than the civilian's life. Okay, so I kind of hope this kind of gets out there. I hope that the people that do the police training hear this. Or if they don't hear it directly from me, they hear it from other people, because these are the things that need to be fixed. Okay, when I train civilians, I train them that aside from fingers off the trigger until the second you need to shoot, aside from identify, I also tell them that it's a worse thing to shoot somebody that doesn't need to be shot than it is to get shot yourself. Okay, so I'd rather take the risk of being a little bit slower, okay, of taking that extra second to identify. Okay, I'd rather take that risk than risk shooting somebody that doesn't need to get shot. I'd rather take the risk that if I follow all those safety precautions, yeah, maybe there's a higher chance that I will get killed by a bad guy, but I'll accept that over I might shoot somebody that's completely innocent. Okay, and that also goes as far as looking what's beyond your target. Because sometimes when I do training, I'll have like targets like stacked one behind the other, right? And if you're in a position like at this angle over here, okay, if I'm at this angle over here, there's too much of a chance that if I'm aiming for that person over there, I might hit this person. So in this situation, I'll train people to actually take a couple of steps, change the angle so that they don't hit an innocent person. So that has to be part of everybody's training, not just police training, but civilian training. But with civilians, we're already doing that. Okay, that's already a factor in civilian training, that we don't want to shoot an innocent person. We need to we need to be absolutely sure that what we're shooting at needs to get shot. So these are the flaws that I see in police training. And if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.